I mean, I still ate it, of course, but like I'm sitting there and I'm like, what in the heck did they do to my popcorn? Like I stood there and watched the guy like onto the popcorn. Welcome back to Privy. Privy is a podcast about bathrooms. Recorded this week, we're back in my home bathroom. It's good to be back, but it was a delight to get to spend some time in a friend's domain last week. So thank you again, Gavin, for having the show and for enlightening us on the woes of law enforcement and bathrooming. I've shared on the show that I'm I'm going to say enthusiast of the beautiful black beverage coffee. It is so good, and it definitely changes the makeup of what is going on, like downstairs, specifically back door. But it primarily does that through, again, the laxative properties of the coffee, which are, again, our friend Gavin last week so graciously discussed how it is an organic laxative, and so that's why we choose it. And before we get into the show, I want to just take a brief note here, and I got first fatty sunburn. Not really bad, but like it's there, and so might need to get some aloe or something. Probably not, because it's not that bad yet. And did wear my wife's sandals to school. I work at a school. I did wear those this week and stretched out the straps, so she hasn't figured that out yet, but she's probably hearing me from the other room and is discovering it in real time, so that's fun. But yeah, this week on the show, we're going to discuss coffee, but this isn't the coffee extravaganza. But we really want to come at looking at a wild function of human phenomenon, and ask and answer one of those age-old questions. You know, we've all been in this situation. You're over at family dinner, or maybe you're staying the night at someone's house, and you're having dinner, and dinner is served, and what's that is plated before you? Your favorite friend, asparagus is there. And while you might love asparagus, wrapped in anything or just straight up, I'm a straight up guy myself. I know some people got to wrap that noise in bacon just to like feel okay about themselves, but like just eat the asparagus. It's pretty good. But you know what's coming. As soon as you nom down those little tree friends, you know that there's going to be some wild smells coming from the urination station later on. And so this week on Privy, we want to ask and hopefully answer the question of, why does our pee smell? And more importantly, why do certain foods make it smell weird? And so to look at this, I did another one of those like cursory, like Hunter searches the internet, because here's the deal. Y'all could just like pop onto the internet and hit up Google and find all of these answers yourself. But I think why you're coming here is to just maybe listen to a crazy guy just go on too long about the things that happen in the bathroom. And if that's the case, I'm glad you're here for it. So why does our pee smell? Well, the default smell of urine, which if you're out on a date, those words should never ever be said. Never use the phrase, well, the default smell of urine, if you're ever out with someone ever. But the default smell of urine basically depends on how well a person is hydrated, as well as their diet and any sort of medical concerns or conditions they may have. There is what I like to call a lot of variables here. And the default like smell of urine has kind of like an ammonia flavor. And we kind of discussed that on our like weird uses of urine episode. And we're not going to get back into like the ammonia compound situation here. But that was due to like primarily the fact that it has been used for cleaning and the ammonia in it, they've used that. But the way that ammonia compound gets in the urine, because you might be thinking to yourself, well, like, you know, I got up, I had my cup of Joseph or two, and I snacked down my lunch, and I went about my day, maybe had a snack, a bunch of water, you know, I mowed a lawn today, so like, I sup down some water real fast. You put down one of them 20-ounce water bottles in less than 30 seconds when you're thirsty enough. Yeah, I watched this kid on TikTok like slam 4 of those in a row and then bottle flip the last one, and every one of his friends lost their freaking mind. It was one of the best things I've ever seen. But the flavor, that smell, that ammonia just wash gets in there as your fluids and other waste products is passed through the kidneys. So the kidneys is the part that like does a lot of the cleaning. Most pee, if you want to know what it's made up of, like, so on SpongeBob, you got Plankton, right? Plankton's got one of those, like, you stick the thing in the thing and it tells you the like breakdown makeup of what it's made of. And he like sticks in like seaweed and it's like 50% sea, 50% weed, that's a funny joke. But if you were to waz into Plankton's, like, tell me what's inside of it machine, you know, they should make a character that's a mix between Dr. Doofenshmirtz and Plankton. That would be an interesting mashup. I actually might be into that. But if you were to pee into Plankton's what's in it inator, if you will, what's in it is primarily, our pee is primarily made up of water, salt, electrolytes, which as I understand it is just like super salt. That's just Gatorade. Like Gatorade is electrolytes. And urea or uric acid. These are often like a protein compound. More on those in a little bit. And those two, the urea and uric acid, those are produced in the kidneys when they're filtering out all the yucky stuff your body doesn't need. And so, if you're a person who's hard on your kidneys, just drink a bottle of water. Like, do your kidneys a favor and drink yourself a big glass of water right now. Dump one down for your kidneys. And think of your kidneys as like one of them Brita water filters. And you know that top part that like, I think it just has grit in it and it like filters the water down? But that top part gets all of the nasty stuff. It like traps it all up there. And then sometimes it gets like that weird black like hoogity boogity up there. That black hoogity boogity is the urea and uric acid that is passed through your pee, the badness. The badness and the sadness. And so your kidneys are doing a lot of the heavy lifting of filtering out the 40-ounce coffee and that big gulp you drank for lunch. You know what I'm saying? You know, I see these people that like, so I start my day with between 20 and 40 ounces of coffee. I know. It's fine. It's over the course of like 4 to 6 hours, but still. But here's the deal. There's some people that start their day, like prior to lunch, prior to 10 a.m., they start their day with a huge soda pop. And like, I'm not trying to talk you out of that. If that's how you start your day, you do it. But like, get off my chuff about my coffee. Like, there is no sugar in my coffee. It's black. It's blacker than sin. So just cool it. And you know those like, those are going to generate some wee. Like, the big gulp soda and a big old fatty coffee, those are going to generate some uric acid. I'll tell you what. And the more of that uric acid in your pee, the more likely that we get that weird pee smell. Or, as the layman would say it, the more dehydrated you are. What a world. So here's the deal. If your pee is extra stinky, it could be some sign, like I'm talking extra stinky. It could be some sign of a condition or possibly an illness And chief amongst these, and probably the most common, would be some sort of bladder or urinary tract infection, UTI. Not to be, UID, that's a different thing. IED, UED. We're not going to talk about that. It could also be a blood disorder. Like if your pee has a wild stank, could be something blood disorder, such as diabetes or a metabolic disorder where your body is not absorbing or breaking down things as it should. Your pee can get stinky from all of these. And before we move on to the why do some things make my pee smell a certain way, I need to share something very weird here. And this is going to tie into and hopefully pay off later on the show. But for now, it's time for a mid-episode segment of Hunter's Anecdotes to keep you afloat. This short Hunter's Anecdotes to keep you afloat is called P-Wires Crossed. So, when I was in middle school, and as I thought back on this after writing my notes down, I think the catalyst of this happened, we're going to get to that in a minute, because I put that I don't know when this happened, but I smacked my head pretty good when I was in late middle, early high school, and I think that's the catalyst of when this phenomenon began. But in middle and high school, something happened, and one day, me or my parents or me and some friends, I don't remember who, but we went to the movies and we got some popcorn. You know, you get your big old bucket of popcorn, and the dude's like, "Do you want butter?" And up until now, because I'm too old to put butter on my popcorn, otherwise it gives me what we call a tummy ache, because my tummy is fragile to popcorn apparently. But you know, he's like, "Do you want butter?" It's like, "Yes, sir. Load me up." And he's getting the butter all over there. And he hands you this giant box of popcorn. Like, if one person ate this large popcorn, they should be hospitalized. It's bigger than most people's heads. And so you get your popcorn and you trundle into the movie and you plop it down. You're sitting there and I always try to wait to eat my corn before the movie, until the movie starts. Otherwise, I'm going to blast through that bucket before we're halfway through. So you're sitting there and the movie's going. And I reach for that movie corn, which, again, tears me up something fierce nowadays. I think it's the butter. It has to be the butter. I'm an old man stage of life. But I reach for the corn, and as I raise my fistful of popped corn to my mouth, I smell... you take that big draw, that's the sound of allergy nostril, by the way. You take that big draw of popped corn into your face hole, and, most people are like, "My goodness, I love the smell of popcorn." And I do too. But when I did it this time in the movie theater, I got the overwhelming smell of urine. And I mean, I still ate it, of course, but I'm sitting there and I'm like, what in the heck did they do to my popcorn? I stood there and watched the guy onto the popcorn, and so I ignore the impulse and I just eat the popcorn and finish the movie. And I just like, okay, it's just some weird thing. Maybe some little kid is in the movies and they had an accident. You just smelled the pee a little bit. Who knows? But you never know. And so a month or so later, we're sitting around the house, and my dad will regularly pop just randomly. He will just show up on scene with a bag of popped corn. And it is one of his greatest credits. Nobody's ever upset by it. I'll tell you that right now. But my dad shows up with just a bag of popped corn, and I go and rip that Colonel Delight right open, and you get that first whiff of a fresh bag, and you're just getting up on there, and I hit it with again. The smell of pee meets my nostril holes, and I'm going, what is going on right now? And as time goes on, I notice that it's interchangeable. I find that sometimes when I pee, or even there's been times where I've been pooping, and I've been sitting there, and somebody comes in and blasts a rigorous stream, and I smell it, and I'm like, my goodness, it smells like popped corn. It's uncanny. and unsettling, if I'm gonna be honest. And then other times, I rip open a box of corn or a bag of corn, and it smells like pee, and I don't understand it. But it has made for some weird moments. Like, I remember the first time I explained this to my wife, and she was just like, "What? Are you serious?" And I was like, "Yeah, it smells like pee. I know it's not." And when our kids were both in diapers, there would often be a moment where popcorn would be popped in the home, and I would smell it, and I would think that one of our children had an accident, only to be reminded that my nostril is a freak nostril. And it is made for some weird moments, because coupled with the fact that my nose is broken in this very specific way, I also don't have a filter. And so one time in college, shared bathrooms, gotta love it. I've shared about the shared college bathrooms before. Someone had just blasted off, Team Rocket were blasting off again, big stream of wee, and it smelled so strongly of wee in the bathroom. Like, not Nintendog's wee, but like Trucker Dave wee. You know what I'm saying? Big urine. And I swear I walked into the bathroom and I just began asking people if there was fresh popped corn in the bathroom, because my brain was convinced that it was popcorn. Like, it smells like popcorn. My brain pee wire is crossed. And it hasn't always been. I do, and sometimes I smell my pee, like, not in a weird way, but like, you know how like when you pee and like you just do catch a whiff of it? Sometimes I do that and it doesn't smell like popcorn. And sometimes I enjoy a bag of popcorn and it doesn't catch me with my brain thinking it's urine. It's not a consistent thing, but it is a thing that happens, and it's freaking weird because I love popcorn. So when it does happen, it can be unfortunate because it's like, well, man, I kind of wish it didn't smell like a little bit like pee. But then I can't be that grossed out because like just last week, I drank like 16 ounces of orange juice that was over 40 days past the date. And so this pee smelling popcorn, it doesn't really matter to me. I'm going to snack it down because it's delicious. And that is a brief hunter's anecdotes to keep you afloat. This week, we want to discuss the many things that makes pee smell weird. What does it and why? And so some famous, quote, famous foods that will rank your bank include, and we mentioned this at the top of this show, asparagus. It would be a wild episode of Vegetable Tales where they explore like, hi, I'm Junior Asparagus and I'm coming to grips with the consequences of my actions. And they use the like smelly water as a consequence, and that way it's just like a joke for the parents. It's like, hey parents, you know what this stuff does to you, know what I'm saying? And I think in my riffing, like on that Vegetable Tales show, I may have just accidentally wrote the synopsis for the fake book in the publishers in Elf, like that they talk about writing about, with like the self-conscious piece of asparagus who has the smelly pee. But anyway, wow, what a wild tangent. Asparagus makes your pee smell weird. When the asparagus fluids in your kidneys meets up with the kidneys and it's broken down into a compound, and that compound is called none other than asparagusic acid. Yes. The asparagus pee produces what is called asparagusic acid, because why else would it be named asparagusic acid? This acid contains sulfur compounds, which is what cause the unpleasant smell. This phenomenon can also be observed sometimes outside of asparagus. If you eat natural sugars, such as dried fruits, it can make your pee smell sweet. And if this happens, like if your pee smells sweet too often, I'm not a doctor, big disclaimer here. I'm not a doctor, but if your pee smells overly sweet too often, go see a doctor, because it could be an early sign of diabetes as the sugars have not been broken down appropriately in your urine. This phenomenon, this sweet-smelling pee, can also be observed if someone consumes too much honey. Other things of note that cause some rank waz are fennel and Brussels sprouts. You may have heard of garlic breath. Like, it's what SpongeBob and Patrick ran around with when they weren't really ugly. We're not ugly, we just stink. You take your date out on for a hot round of all-you-can-eat pasta bowl, and you're 3 deep on a garlic-loaded pasta, buddy, and now you have bad breath problems. Well, garlic can also hit up your golden streams. It's not just a bad breath problem, it's a bad pee problem. When it's broken down in the kidneys, garlic produces the same chemical that makes you less kissable, allyl methyl sulfide. The culprit here being, again, the sulfur compound, but this time with the garlic smell. I've never done a garlic pee, and I wonder if it's like my popcorn thing where sometimes it makes you want popcorn after the experience. Did you know it's possible to get too many vitamins? Yeah. Vitamins, if you didn't know, are rocks that make your body powerful. If you gobble up too many of these power rocks, it's going to do some weird stuff to your pee. Like, you know, the Flintstones yummy vitamins, they're delicious, but if you eat half of the container, it's going to do some weird stuff to your pee. That's a lot for your pee to break down. And it could change it, not just the smell, but it could change the color to kind of a peeish, like shade of green, which would freak my beans so hard. If I peed and what looked like lime Gatorade came out, I think I might pass out. Like, if I'm standing there, zip drop, sploosh, and the sploosh just looks like some sort of weird, like, green shampoo, I think I might pass out on that. Like, or think I was an alien. I'm not sure which. If you get too many B vitamins, it's reported that your pee can smell like fish. Yeah. Like, that's such a terrible image. Like, to me, the worst smell in the universe is nothing that comes out of a bathroom. The worst smell in the universe is the smell of tuna fish that has been, like, soaked and sitting in a container in the sink in warm water, and it has sat for more than 1 second in that water. So bad. Stinky tuna fish water is way worse. I would rather somebody rip beef square into... Well, no, I wouldn't. But, like, tuna fish water is way worse than any fart on this universe. But we're really getting into the weird zone here. Like, fish-smelling pee, that's wild. As I noted, there are a number of medical concerns that can be related to the smell of pee. And in short, if you're concerned, call your doctor. Go see your doctor. A couple that I have shared as far as weird things that make your pee smell weird. One that I've experienced is coffee. That beautiful brown bean brew. If you're sick of the chemistry part of the episode so far, strap in because we're not done. Coffee contains the compound hydroxycinnamic. Run at it again. First try. Here we go. Hydroxycinnamic acid. That has to be it. The hydroxycinnamic acid is what makes coffee smell so good and is responsible for why coffee is considered to be good for you. Did you hear that? It's considered to be good for you. So drink up. Here on Privy, we drink the coffee. Pour yourself a beautiful, beautiful cup of bean juice. And if you don't like bean juice, that's totally fine. I'll let you marinate on it. You know what I'm saying? This acid, the hydroxycinnamic acid, when it is broken down, it can't get rid of all that acid. And so the more coffee that you have, the more likely that some of that hydroxycinnamic buddy is getting through and going to sneak through. You know, they're like, dun, 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 dun. No, actually, it's more like dear Lord, there's so much here, we have to let some through. And sometimes there's so much that, as I have shared, your pee will just smell like a cup of coffee. This, coupled with the caffeine dehydrating you, may make the sensation even worse when more than one cup is consumed. And you know more than one cup is consumed. Another that I have experienced is Cheerios, or more specifically, Honey Smacks. Ye olde Diggum's frog is serving up the smacks, and sometimes when you eat 2 men of old Diggum's oat cereal, puffed rice, I don't know if it's puffed whatever, it's puffed something. Puff the magic puff dragon, you know what I'm saying? Hoofity puffity, show me the woofity. You get oat juice in your pee. That's what you gotta know. Old Diggum's frog's getting your weird pee, and or at least that's what my brain does. And these phenomenon are usually when the thing is consumed or was consumed in way too high of quantities. You overdid it. Last for me, and as I shared earlier in Hunter's anecdotes, is the popcorn. After the fact, I went and did some self-validating research, and it turns out with the power of the internet and the Googling this nonsense, I'm less of a freak than I thought I was. Because here's the thing, I've never felt more validated in my entire life. It's real. This is real. I've decided to share the quote directly as it is written on healthline.com. Healthline.com writes this, quote, some common foods that may cause your urine to smell like popcorn include, drum roll please, popcorn. There you go. But wait, it gets better. Large amounts of protein, which is high in ketones, and coffee, which contains large amounts of chemical compounds that leave the body through your urine. This is it. If you know me, you know that I am all about, I will consume 3 things. This dude loves popcorn, he will eat some meat, and you had better believe, guilty as charged, I love that beautiful brown bean juice, love coffee. It's the popcorn urine triforce has been completed and has blasted itself out of my nether region. I have my answer. There's one more thing that is kind of wild and can make your pee smell different. And I saved this one for the end here because what in the freaking heck? Sometimes inside our bodies, our organs can like touch each other and they can like rub up against each other, rub up, and they're not supposed to do that very much. And sometimes when that happens, there can be holes formed between one organ and the other. These organ holes are called fistulas. Yep, fistula. It's an unfortunate sounding term. But when this happens, like, things can pass between those holes. They're like weird portals or like ways through the upside down from one organ to the next. And sometimes a fistula can form between the bladder, which traditionally stores urine, and the stomach or digestive tract, which traditionally stores dookies. And when this happens, sometimes the pee system can get infected with poopy particles, and you're going to have a fart pee. Love you. Yeah. Oh, wife just came in clutch with the drink. But you get a pee fart. Fart pee. Much like the green pee thing. If I'm peeing and I get a big draw of that pee smell and it smells like a fart, I would be so freaked. Our bodies are amazing. Yeah, so what's happening on this is some of the poopy matter is getting in your pee stream and it's making your pee smell like a fart or a turd. And it's just wildly disturbing. Our bodies are amazing. That's what you gotta know. And sometimes the systems we have in place produce smells we would not expect. And I think what is uncanny is when those smells match up so well with the way the food went into our body that it like hits us like, oh my gosh, this is weird. And For the most part, it seems like it's totally okay. Unless it smells sweet. Pretty much everything I saw, if your pee smells sweet to you, go to your doctor and let them know about that. Just do that. I want to take a moment before we get to the end of the episode and we close out here. I have a review to read. We would love for you to leave a review on the show. The reason we ask folks to do that, the reason podcast asks it, if you didn't know, is it helps folks find the show. So that way, when they get on iTunes, I've switched back over to, no, we're not important. But when they get on whatever their podcast catcher of choice is, and they start punching in like bathrooms, potty, toilets, you know, the things people search for all the time. The higher rated a show is, the more likely it is to pop up into somebody's suggested bar. And so if you would, please go into your podcatcher that you're listening on. And if it's Spotify, hit that 5-star. 5 stars preferred. If you're like, no, just rate the show. We want to hear from you. The downside is Spotify does not let you write a review. And so you do not have to write a review on Spotify, but if you are so inclined, we would love for you to write us a review. And if you do, we will do our best. Write us an Apple Podcast review, and we will read it here on the show. And we have a review to read this week. This was a 5-star review. Thank you for that. Left by J Swizzle McNiner. Thank you, J Swizzle McNiner. I have a guess at who this is. But J Swizzle McNiner writes, Kyle Anthony sent me here. He told me to tell Austin Kent hi. So I'm pretty sure I know who you are, J Swizzle, and we're not going to get into that. But hey, first of all, I want to say shout out to Kyle Anthony. Papa Kyle, you're in my phone as Papa Kyle Anthony. Thank you for sending J Swizzle this way. Love you. And also, shout out to Austin Kent, previous guest on the show, who is swiftly approaching fatherhood. So shout out to him again. Love you guys. And yeah, thank you, J Swizzle McNiner, for writing the review. If you would like your review read on the show, and you can make me say nonsense words, leave us a review. Apple Podcasts. Also, one last thing before we get to the closing. The Cintas, America's Greatest Restroom Competition, which we covered in part last year, and this year we will be covering it in full, is currently back underway. And they are taking submissions for the greatest bathroom of 2022 until June 17th. So you have until June 17th, if you are listening, and you know of a stellar bathroom that is clean and awesome to look at, and it's super dope. You can go to the Cintas America's Greatest Restroom Competition webpage, and we're going to put a link in the doodly bopper here. But go and nominate the rad bathrooms that you know. We'd love to, and send us an email. Say, hey, I nominated this bathroom. And it's gonna be awesome. As always, thank you for listening. I appreciate you being here and listening to me talk about pee for too long. As always, we want to thank Kevin MacLeod for the use of Barroom Ballet as our intro and outro music. You can find Kevin's music at incompetech.com, and his music is licensed under Creative Commons License Attribution 4.0. Thanks, Kevin. We would also like to thank Poddington Bear for the use of All the Colors in the World as the Hunter's Anecdotes intro and outro music. You can find Poddington Bear's music at poddingtonbear.com. Thanks, Poddington. Follow the show on social media at Privycast. Rate and review, all that stuff. Thank you guys for listening. Love you guys. And now, as always, don't forget to flush.